Hello and welcome to Megawatt, where each week we give you the lowdown on the latest piece of kit from the world of technology and gadgets. This week we're going to be talking to Aidon Toase, who's just completed an 850-kilometre trek across the Alps as part of the Red Bull X-Alps race. Plus we've got news, reviews, tips, tricks, opinions and much more. Stay tuned. This is Aidon Toase and this is what he does. So, Aidon, can you tell us a bit about the race first?
Yeah, it was an incredible race. So we started off in Dachstein Glacier in Austria, and then the route was to go down the Marmolada, which is the biggest mountain in the Dolomites in Italy, around the Eiger, around Mont Blanc, and finish on Monaco Beach.
And so,
850 kilometres.
Did you have to walk that? Paraglide? How did you get around?
The rules are really simple. You either paraglide or walk carrying the paraglider. And those were the only rules. So no cars, no cable lifts.
So you can sort of just jump in the back of the van and sort of go, right.
Well, it's tempting, but we were tracked by GPS and live every second of the way. So if they saw us driving at 60 miles an hour, we'd get disqualified.
So what was the best bit?
The best bit, I had an amazing flight in the Dolomites. I got a really low save and a low thermal, which a vulture soaring in the thermal next to me just pointed out where the lift was, and I soared up to 3,000 metres. It was amazing.
And the worst?
And the worst was not quite making the Marmolada turn point. I was 6 foot higher and I would have just got over the top of the mountain. As it was, I had to land at the bottom and then hike up 700 metres to take off again. It was gutting.
We love Google Earth. Why do we love it? Well, because there's obviously a desperate need for you to see what your house looks like from the moon when you're sitting in your house. It makes perfect sense to us. I know it's been around for a while, but we just love it. We're hooked, we're addicted, we can't get enough of it. I went on holiday there. Let's see what that looks like from the sky. My friend lives there. Let's see what that looks like in the sky. And you just spend half an hour looking at different places that you've already been to, of course, because you never look at anywhere where you haven't been. Well, you might do if you're like trying to find funny things and you know, cool things like that. But the majority of the time you just spend looking at stuff that you know what it looks like anyway. But it's great fun. And the street level map stuff where they've taken a car, driven snap, 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 because you obviously need to know what a street looks like before you've walked down it. It's, you know, obviously completely pointless. But we love it anyway. And that's why we love Google Earth. So what sort of gadgets and kit did you need to complete the task? Well,
obviously, apart from the paraglider, obviously, what you need is a GPS and Vario, and this is that. And what this does is it tells me a number of things. It tells me my height.
Okay.
And it also tells me if I'm gaining or losing height by beeping.
And why would you need
that? Because if you're at, say, 3,000 metres, it's very hard to tell if you're gliding slightly upwards in an up current or if you're losing height. And if you're losing height, you want to get out there as quickly as you can and fly as fast as possible. It's also got a GPS combined in that, which tells you your speed and therefore calculates the wind direction and wind speed and glide ratio, so you can optimise your performance in the air, basically.
So this is sort of like your airplane cockpit in a little box?
Yeah, absolutely. It's also, talking about airplanes, it's also got all the airspace LED in there, so I can try to avoid airplanes as much as possible because I don't want to get in the way of a 747. For the competition, we also needed Nokia 95.
Right.
Now, what we actually had for the competition was the GPS track log was downloading from Bluetooth into this and then transmitted live to the web, so hundreds of thousands of people could follow us live on the web.
Right, okay.
And that was fantastic. And we also had to update a diary every day, so we were sending videos and pictures from this.
Right, brilliant. And did you use the MP3 player on that? Did you tune out across the Dolomites or something?
I did a little bit, but I was a bit concerned about the battery, so I actually used my iPod for that. But we used this a little bit and it was great.
Brilliant.
So that was cool. And then we needed a backup GPS just in case that went wrong. We just had a very basic GPS.
Right.
I was just looking for something.
That is very basic. I think it's the lowest model they do, isn't it?
This is the cheapest they get on the market, and it's also the lightest, which was quite important to me.
We hate silly names for products. What the hell is an LB Vi726823 when it's at home? I mean, that's just stupid. How am I supposed to remember that? Hello, do you have an LB? It's just rubbish. Why do they do it? And I would say Apple got it right, but then you go to Apple and they go, it's the iMac with a capital M after a small I, because that, hey, makes grammatical sense to do that. It's like, why? And it's just mad, and that's why we hate stupid product names. So is that a heart rate monitor?
Yeah, that's right. That's connected to my Sunto watch. And the idea of that was obviously you'd wear the heart rate monitor, and then I could monitor how many calories I was burning, what my heart rate was, to try and get the maximum out of my running performance.
Now, when polar explorers, they've always been told they've got to eat like loads of butter and really fatten up because they're burning thousands and thousands. Was that the same with you as well?
I could eat as much chocolate as I wanted. It was great.
Yeah. That must have been brilliant.
Chocolate, energy biscuits, ice cream. I could eat anything I liked as long as I ate a lot.
So also, how many calories were you sort of going through a day?
I was going through, I think, about 10, 12,000, something like that.
Wow.
I didn't have it on all the time, so I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, but plenty.
Plenty. Excellent. And what else have we got?
For safety, what I carried around when things were getting dicey, I carried around an EPIRB, which is an emergency personal beacon.
Right.
And
sounds pretty cool.
It's quite useful if you're in the mountain, if you're in trouble. Fortunately, I didn't have to use it, where you just push the button if you're in trouble, and it sends a radio signal to passing aircraft, and they immediately alert the local police or rescue authorities.
Maybe we could try it now. See if
see
if the Coast Guard pile in.
Right next to Heathrow, it should be a pretty quick response.
Excellent. One of the gadgets Aidon Toase used when he was doing his X-Alps race across the Alps was the Sunto X6. It's like the adventure watch of adventure watches. Well, not wanting to be outdone here at Megawhat, we decided to phone Sunto and see what toys they could send us. The response was the Sunto X9. Yes, even better than the X6 that Aidon's got. Why? Well, because it includes GPS for starters, plus a number of other features which we're going to quickly show you now. One of the main ones is that it has an activity mode which allows you to, if I just get this up, which basically allows you to use the GPS to see the actual speed that you're running or flying or cycling, and the distance you've covered, and a number of other things like average speeds and what have you. There's also a digital compass in there which allows you to find your north or your south or your east, your west, and most impressively an altimeter and barometer, which comes with this really funky thing called a storm alarm, which if the pressure drops over a 3-hour period quite drastically, it will suddenly ping and say, big storm coming, I think you better get out of there. Overall, it's a fantastic watch. It's, as we said, £350 worth of watch, and for the adventurer that's about to go to the outward bounds of this world, would probably do well to check into this. If you're going to be jogging around Hyde Park, it's probably a bit excessive, but nonetheless, it's still a pretty cool gadget to show in the pub. And this is the Sunto X9i. So don't tell me you took a laptop paragliding with you as well.
Well, almost. We took it in the van with us, and this was like our mission control. This is Google Earth, and we use this for downloading navigation and routes from there onto the GPS.
And so what's this red tower here? Is that like a big building?
So no, that's the airspace around an airport. So there'll be loads of 747s flying around inside that. So that's an area I'm not allowed to go in, and I don't want to go in. So I'll put that shape into my my flying GPS,
right,
and try and fly around it.
And so how would you use this on a sort of in the race? How did you use this information? Would it allow you to cut corners and things like that, or?
It allows you, because you can look at the terrain, it allows you to get a good idea of what the best route is around the mountains.
Right.
And you can also actually on the Google Earth, the resolution's so good you can spot potential takeoffs, which is quite handy.
Oh, that's useful.
But mainly it was just then you'd plot a route on that and then download it onto the GPS.
And so was all this allowed, all this tech and info was allowed during the race, or is this sort of secret that you've
No, I think most people had a pretty similar setup.
Right, okay, excellent.
So,
well, thanks very much, Aidon. Is there any sort of tips and tricks that we need to give away?
No, if you're keen on taking out paragliding, go to the bhpa.com, and if you want to watch the next race, go to the Red Bull X-Alps.
And when's that on? When's the next race?
2009.
And are you going to be entering?
I will be. I'll be winning, hopefully, getting to Monaco, I hope.
Brilliant, well thanks very much.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers.